Hello guys, this is another Beatles fan, and today we have a really cool video because we're going to talk about the McCartney Legacy, Volume 1, 1969 to 1973 by Alan Cozen and Adrian Sinclair. This is supposed to be a quicker video. I'm going to tell you guys my straightforward opinion on this book, and here it comes. This book is great. This book is a must-read for McCartney fans. And by McCartney fans, I mean people who are familiar with his solo work, and especially solo work between McCartney 1 and released in 1970 and Wings' Band on the Run, right? That's what it covers here. And it is very much comparable to Mark Lewisohn's Tune In. If you guys aren't familiar with this type of book, Tune In is a really important Beatles book. McCartney Legacy is maybe the most important Paul McCartney book ever, or one of the most important ones. And the idea here is that we have a thorough research of Paul's solo career right after the Beatles broke up. The idea here is this chronological telling of what exactly happened in this era, why Paul chose to record the albums the way they were recorded, why did the songs come out like that, why did Paul McCartney form Wings, how did Paul react to the end of the Beatles, why did Paul want to do a university tour, why he wanted to produce the James Paul McCartney special that released in 1973 on TV, and much more, right? So that's the main gist here. So you should be familiar with all these albums I'm going to show you guys here. You should know McCartney 1 tells basically everything you should know about it. About Ram 2, released in 1971. About Wings Wildlife, also released in 71 if I recall correctly. Red Rose Speedway, the first two Wings albums, right? And of course Band on the Run, Paul McCartney's masterpiece, I believe, along with some others, but this is mainly his main masterpiece, in my opinion. Anyway, it's a great book, right? It's captivating. I think I had a little bit more fun reading it than Tune In by Mark Lewisohn. I think Tune In, since it tells the Beatles story from the very beginning, and by the very beginning I mean when the Beatles were literally born, John, Paul, George and Ringo were born, and then the book starts. And I feel like that was kind of bad for the book's pacing, because it talks a lot about their childhoods and their characters, and that's great, but it feels more introspective, it feels less exciting. And I would say this book, of course it's a biography, but it feels exciting because Paul was doing so much stuff. He was reacting to the Beatles breakup, he was trying to find his musical direction, because it's incredible how this book it really sells the idea that Paul was at a state in his career that feels almost crazy now when you think about it. Paul had to prove himself, and he doesn't need to prove anything. Maybe in the last 40 years he's fucking Paul McCartney, right? But he needed to prove himself here, and he felt the pressure of it, he felt this need, and this modeled everything that came after the Beatles breakup. The pressure of the critics, he was kind of trying to respond to every single criticism. For example, McCartney 1 was released as his first album, and the critics and fans kind of complained that it was super lo-fi, super visceral production. They missed the old Paul McCartney of the album, of the huge albums, the Abbey Road medleys and whatever. And so he answered it with Ram, a super produced, a year-long recordings, right? but that didn't work out well, so he tried to form a new band and whatever. So you get a sense that Paul really was trying to find himself in the middle of this chaos, right? Of especially at the beginning on these first two records, as I mentioned, because there's also depression, there's a drinking problem. Then all of it came out of the Alan Klein situation and the Beatles breakup. So, and of course, this album is also great if you guys want to know the non-musical details of the Beatles breakup, of the formation of Wings. It gives us a ton of insight on that, and it feels cool. It feels refreshing to have a book that is so thorough and well researched again, because that's the main point here. And I find it really cool also that it includes a ton of photos, not a ton of them, but enough that it helps kind of sell the main narrative. So you're gonna find the photos scattered across the book, and again, it does help out. It's something I missed from Mark Lewisohn's tune-in, and we also get a sense of what Paul is like in the studio. We get a sense that he is kind of a no-nonsense guy. He knows exactly what he wants most of the time, and if he doesn't, he'll probably pretend like he does. And that's for his benefit, of course, when he thinks about this incredible arrangement for Live and Let Die or the backseat of my car. He kind of knows what he wants, he knows how the music should go, and it helps the song get into the shape he wants and he needs. But also it creates tension. It did create tension with George in the Beatles, and it was one of the main reasons why George was willing to leave the Beatles. And it created tension with Wings, created tension especially with Harry McCulloch. We also have a sense of how Linda helped Paul during the Beatles breakup, how she was super important for him because he was going through a really rough time, and Paul still to this day he mentions Linda as super supportive and really important in that sense. So that's the main takeaways I got from the record. Again, I try to tell you guys that I really like it. I think it's a great ride, it's a fun ride, because it's not only super informative, it's also fun to go through it, to have this experience, right? And it gives you a new impression of the records, I think. It leaves you wondering about tons of stuff, about Paul as a person, about Paul as a musician. And you see that everything that happened in his life at that time was turned into some kind of music. And that's the main point why I feel like these books, McCartney Legacy and Tune In, they're super important. It isn't because we are crazy fans that love gossip or whatever. It's because we know, and the books sell it very well, this idea that life and music of the boys, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, they are tied together in a way that you must understand who the person is to really get a good grasp of the work he's done. And the main point here is understanding and appreciating, having more appreciation for the great work Paul McCartney has done in this era, right? So that's why I love it. I think it's maybe one of the best Beatles book I've ever read. I'm super excited for Volume 2, which is coming out this year also. So what do you guys think about it? I'm gonna try and record another video this week with my main takeaways of this book and the new things I learned about it. So it's kind of gonna be a lengthier video, It's gonna be a deep dive in McCartney's story in this era. So I do hope you check it out. And anyway, again, thank you for watching. Please let me know what you think about the video about McCartney Legacy. What do you guys want me to talk about in the next albums? Please tell me everything, right? See you guys later. Thank you very much. This is Paul McCartney Legacy, and this is another Beatles fan.